Yay!
So good to be here.
We're doing it.
Fuck yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
You're actually my first person that isn't Beck.
How exciting.
Let's just put our phones on silent.
Yeah. Silence for travel.
Rule number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and Beck always spoke about a few people that we wanted to get on. We wanted to get Tara on, we wanted to get you on, and I was just like, well, Tara's in Japan, so Jarrod's first.
Oh, so good to be here. Thank you so much.
Yay!
Yeah,
Why
so
do you
pumped.
think I want you on here?
Loaded question. I don't know. I feel like we've been in each other's lives for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I feel like whenever we've chatted, we've had a lot to say about different things as far as life goes, and found each other's perspectives interesting on, just life, doofing, and, doof community was fun because that's where we met, of course, like you were friends with Ali, and then, we just started going to doofs, and that was a big cultural shift for yourself and
100%.
around me for the same time.
Was that your first doof?
That was my second doof.
Okay, yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, as far as doofs go, that was an enlightening process, going from like something like Splendor.
Oh, so different.
Where
hey?
it was, you just didn't know anything different. It was fun, you're with your friends, like
Yeah.
camping out, going to music festivals, and then going to a bush doof, it was like a big woo.
It's like a slap in the face.
Yeah.
Difference, hey?
It felt like all these cultural change just got cut off as I was there, because there's this landscape where it's in nature, everyone's barefoot,
Yeah.
the music's
Yeah.
it's similar but it's quite different.
Yeah.
And
the music doesn't stop.
Yeah.
It goes all night.
24/7.
Legit.
Yeah, and like there's less of a how do you look, and it's more of a who are you kind of culture, and getting to know each other, and like
100%.
I think actually my first doof was the very first time ever that Tiana and myself facilitated a breathwork session.
Really?
That was our first go.
Was that Elements? Or
That was
that
Elements.
So that was your first doof when we met?
Second doof.
Almost got
We
you.
went to a doof and we were like, oh my god, there's so many connection workshops, and there was eye gazing, there was breathwork, there was somatic release, there was like ecstatic dance, there was like all these things, and because Tiana and I were just like working together at that point, loved breathwork and just chatting about it.
Yeah.
And then
I was gutted that I missed you in Elements.
because we were on the first day, we were so early, and we just like bypassed like the 10k of the line.
That was like a 4-hour line as well.
It was nuts, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was interesting, and like translating from that point. Excuse me.
Go for it. That's smoothie, isn't it?
It's just the shine, yeah. It's my nootropics that are just coming up.
I don't know what that is.
Nootropics are like, they're like brain stimulants.
Oh.
So they can stimulate this increased interconnectivity of the brain.
Right.
So like brain function can be stimulated more. And I like to do it like on days that I'm working, because my brain can just like
Oh, is it something you
at a
put in
high-
your drink?
It's generally as a liquid.
Right.
It's generally so like shine is just like, it's like a typical energy, you have typical energy drinks like Monster and V's and stuff, but then what they've done is there's been this new market of people that like want to work at a high efficiency but don't want all the bullshit and the preservatives that are in that, so they've put in a lot of vitamins and minerals. They got vitamin B, like a whole complex of vitamin B's, and they've just got like different things like what is it? It's not maca. It's just different roots. Like they're just using Siberian ginseng for one, and there's another one.
Siberian ginseng.
Yeah. And so it's like all these things are going to affect things like your energy and your brainwave state and the interconnection of the nerves within the central nervous system itself.
Right. So is it sort of like, does it work between your synapse and your neurons?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And like the speed of the connection increases.
Ah. Okay. So it's like it sounds like a coffee caffeine hit, but it's not.
Yeah. No, it's similar. Very similar.
Yeah. But it's not caffeine.
It's not caffeine, right?
Cool.
Because like the reason is, I'm glad you said that, because I was having caffeine, but I always felt that when I was having caffeine, I was like felt more productive and I was able to be more efficient. And when I'm efficient, I feel like I'm in my flow. Yeah. That's when I feel like I'm 100%. Feeling momentum, and I'm feeling there's some productivity towards the goals and aspirations or the work that I have for that day. But then I was like, every time I have coffee, my body feels like it's being depleted. Because I would cramp more. Whenever I would train, I would feel sore. Yeah. And my joints would feel more stiff.
Yeah.
And I was looking into it, and there's like, obviously we have different body types.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me personally, when I was having coffee, I did a bit more research into it. And to metabolize caffeine, in from the liver, we use our essential minerals to do that.
Yeah.
So magnesium,
Yeah.
zinc,
Yeah.
calcium,
Yeah.
and there's a fourth one here, and there's probably a couple more.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just using so much of my essential minerals in my body.
Mm-hmm.
My liver was overworking, and I was talking with my acupuncturist about it.
Oh, I really want to get acupuncture. Yeah.
And he was like, dude, every time I saw him, my liver was just overworking.
And then you get the cramps there?
No, I was just getting cramps in like my arms, my lower body, my legs, my back especially.
Yeah, right.
Because I was just doing a lot of, just full body training. But I was just cramping and like just feeling tight. Feeling tight and feel like the range of motion in the tissue is shrinking.
Yeah.
And then I went deeper into it and I was like, if I'm depleting my body of essential minerals, that means my ability to contract muscle decreases. Because in order to contract a muscle, we need calcium, potassium, magnesium in each and every contraction.
Right.
And so when there's a depletion of those essential minerals,
right,
then I'm not able to contract and be as efficient, and I'm going to fatigue way earlier as well because the minerals aren't there.
Yeah.
And then it goes deeper because,
go.
This whole year, like the last year, it's been really interesting to talk to people about caffeine. Now, I still have caffeine here and there in moderation.
I did offer you a coffee.
You did offer me a coffee, right? And I said yes, right?
I already left.
So it's just like moderating that.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting when you start to talk to people with different conditions such as like arthritis is a big one.
Yeah.
Because arthritis is the degeneration of the bone. Now, there's different types, but it's the degeneration of the bone density, right?
Right.
So there's like this whole blend of, well, it's not just coffee that's going to degenerate your bones, but what's happening is there's, on a very low level in your day-to-day, you're going to be using your minerals such as calcium, which is a big density inside the bones. Mm-hmm. And it's just been one interesting aspect to at least consider if you're someone with like arthritis or any degenerative conditions. You want to be conscious of what essential minerals are being used to metabolize the consumption that I'm having, and caffeine's definitely one that I think I've definitely considered just from feeling tighter and more stuck.
When I think of caffeine and like when you started explaining that whole story, I just think caffeine is giving your body like a hit, like it's giving you an increase, but it's not giving you anything to do that. It's just like stimulating it to go faster, but it's not giving you anything to stimulate it. Does that make sense? Like it gives you the caffeine, but like you say, you get all the vitamins and minerals from this drink. Like caffeine isn't giving you all those vitamins and minerals to do what you're trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I was talking to Coach Will once because I was like, dude, like, what is the benefit of coffee? Surely there is one other than the stimulatory response. And he was saying, I don't know much detail about it, but he was talking about there's polyphenols in caffeine that can be beneficial. That's the only thing that I can think of.
What is polyphenols?
I have no idea. That's the problem, so
yeah. That's where it ended. Coach Will's right.
Gosh. It's like, when I'm like, when I haven't had a coffee for a while, like a couple of weeks, maybe a month or two, I'm like, I need some polyphenols. I'll go get a coffee.
I need those polys.
Yeah.
Pop a poly.
Yeah.
Yes. I've never drank coffee.
You never have?
I've like had a sip of coffee before, but I don't like the taste. Even when we went to Bali, you can do like, there's like coffee tours, and you could try all different types of their coffee beans that they have, and some are really nice, but then when you get to like the real nitty gritty coffee tasting beans, I was like, nah, I don't like it. I actually have been quite curious lately to try it. Like I'm like, maybe I'll go buy a coffee, I'll just try it, but I just still haven't done it yet.
Yeah. It's an interesting one, hey?
Yeah, I might see if I need some polyphenols.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like, there's some sort of benefit to it. But yeah, like that whole idea around like, for example, when we go and we like train people, and we bring them into the gym, then, some people often ask about nutrition, right? And we're not nutritionists and we don't claim to be, and we're not going to give you guided, meal plans and stuff like that. It's the place for the nutritionist or the dietitian or the naturopath, depending where you're at. But one of the things that we know that can support people is like the lifestyle habits. That's like looking at your deficiencies. And there's 4 main deficiencies that we work with. One of them is vitamins and minerals. One of them is sun exposure. The third one is your hydration. And there's a fourth one that's lost me at the moment.
Sleep.
Sleep, yeah, I believe it. Sleep's a main one for sure.
Yeah. But I guess working on that, all you need to say is sleep 8 hours.
Yeah.
Like, you can't really train someone with their sleep.
Yeah.
Wait, so you do vitamins and minerals, the sun. What was the other thing?
Vitamin and minerals, the sun, hydration. And there's a fourth one. I believe it is sleep. I believe sleep's an important one, but...
Oh, 100%.
It's really...
Well, you work with people on movement.
Yeah, absolutely. And rest and recovery, you know.
Yeah.
It's been crazy because so much data out there. There's so many podcasts about sleep. There's so many podcasts about, you know, like get 8 hours, you know, get whatever you need. And I remember watching a podcast where this guy was talking about, you know, if you don't get 8 hours, you're essentially giving your brain low-level brain damage each day to day. It was like this 3 hours of sleep. It was like, whoa. It made me realize, I mean, sleep right.
Yeah. And
so for people like us, like our age, it's I feel like it's easier to take more control of our sleep.
100%.
But then in the gym we have a lot of young parents, you know, that have just had kids or middle-aged parents.
Yeah.
Or even parents that have sort of, you know, their kids have just grown up. Then we have obviously students and kids as well in uni and school, and then some older ones. So we have like quite a range.
Yeah.
But what's been really interesting to learn is it doesn't work for me to tell people you need 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah. Because
the reality of the situation is kids get up throughout the night.
Yeah.
And
it was kind of cool as a kid to go to bed at midnight.
Yeah.
Like, you just wait till it's late and then you go to bed.
Absolutely. And it's just like, so it's been so interesting to be actually telling them what they need doesn't work. So the reality of the situation is many parents and many like young adults, middle-aged adults, parents themselves, they know what's right. They know, I know I need 8 hours. I know that's obvious. Like most people know that. But, you know, especially when, you know, women are breastfeeding and they're feeding throughout the night.
Yeah.
That's a tricky one, you know. They're having to have this broken pattern.
Yeah.
They're having to put all their energy into it.
Even if you're not breastfeeding, like my sister has a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
And she would have to get up like 4 times a night. Or like, it would be like, goes down at 8, wake up at like 10 or 11, and goes down, then she wakes up at like 2, and then maybe wakes up at 4, and then we'll get up with him at like 6:37.
Yeah.
Roughly.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine doing that.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't necessarily, like, you can work to support the sleep habits of your kids or the disturbances, you know, whether you're snoring and you're having obstructive sleep apnea, there's things you can do with the breath and mouth tape, etc. But the key is like, what's been really beneficial to learn is understanding the deficiencies and supporting those deficiencies, with the hydration and the nutrition and the vitamins and minerals, is just going to at least support the wellness whilst this sleep is being disturbed, you know? Yeah,
and I guess when you're getting the vitamins and minerals, maybe naturally you'd just get like your body's rhythm going a bit more. I don't know, when you're more in alignment with the sun and you're more in alignment with what you're meant to be taking in, I guess you then will just naturally fall to the next thing, which is your sleep, and then that will just stay it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
What really regulated my sleep was living in my van.
Yeah?
Because you just wake up with the sun. And so when I'm up at that time, when the sun goes down, I just get tired at that time. And like, you know, you only have the van and that's only a small like area. So when the sun goes down, you have to have your light on, and then like also don't want to be sus, so have the light off. Don't want to get caught.
Gotta hide in the dark. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Use the elements.
Yeah. And so then I just like fall asleep. So like now I like to be in bed at like 8 or 8:30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice, eh?
It's so nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's sleep's massive, you know.
100%.
And in this meantime, while we can control it, we may as well.
Yeah. Exactly, when we can bring it back, because it's harder to fix your habit when you've done it for so many years. Like if you're in your 50s, it's hard to change those patterns because you've been doing it for 50 years. Yeah,
the wiring is just so strong in the brain and the system, the motor control, even movement patterns, you know, like kids are the easiest to train because they're so floppy and they're so fresh. Yeah. So you can really give them movement patterns, and their body's just like, give them the right cues, you know, position, action, feel, we call it, where you give them the position, give them the action, give them the feeling that they should, you know, they aim to experience, you know, where should I feel it? it's a really good way to cue them because they're so fresh. Their brain is in that process of learning, growing, and development. And you're right, like those, it's not impossible. Anyone can relearn something.
I think that part of that process is like describing how it feels. Like I go to Pilates and, you know, I've been moving my body actively for quite a number of years. So when I do some of the movements, I just flop my body in the way that I think it's meant to. And sometimes when then the instructor talks to me like, oh, you should be feeling it in your quads or your glutes or your hamstrings, but I'm feeling it in my calves. I'm like, okay, well, I'm obviously doing this wrong.
Yeah.
So then you just got to like keep feeling into your body. And I think that was one thing I never noticed in sport. I wasn't noticing if I'm like clunking my body out. Well, as long as I'm just doing the deed, I'm just like going for it.
Yeah.
So unless someone's like describing to me, oh, your body should be feeling it in this area, then half the time you could be like doing it wrong.
You mentioned something really interesting. You mentioned that when you're not feeling it in the right area, you could feel like you're doing it wrong. Yeah. And that's a thread that comes up for a lot of people. Yeah. Especially around our place where we really prioritize, you know, functional movement patterns. So often when we're supporting people to move in a more safe way, they can feel like they're doing it wrong. And the thing I've learned is, you know, when coming out of uni, I was like, yeah, you don't do it like this, you do it like this because it's better to get the activation of the glutes, whatever it is. But it can be overwhelming for people because the amount of people that I've met coming to the gym and they're 30 or 35 and they've never trained before. It can be so overwhelming to like learn all these patterns and then feel like you're a shit mover and feel like you can't do it and all that sort of path. So one thing that I've learned, especially from Mike Boyle and from Coach Will and from just like these practitioners, it's like rewiring this good and bad to safe and unsafe.
Yeah, or comfortable and uncomfortable. Like, yeah, the more you're then like, oh, I'm doing it wrong, or I'm, you know, not doing this right, why am I doing this wrong? That, like, negative mind pattern will just kick you out of doing it. You'll be like, I don't even want to do it at all then. So it's just being open to being like, I'm probably going to fuck this up a few times. Yeah. This doesn't feel comfortable, or safe or unsafe. I think that's a lot better. Yeah.
Like, safe or unsafe is true because, like, when we're performing any movement pattern, we want to understand the pattern first before we go and load the pattern. Because, for example, like, the best example I give is I was a prime example of moving poorly for like 6 years. In high school, I was doing back squats. Everyone does back squats. Everyone does back squats, but I never learnt to qualify back squats for people.
What does that mean? Qualify back squats.
Qualify back squats. Well, you want to qualify the ranges and movement pattern you need to perform a squat well, right? So what that means is you need to have specific ranges in your ankle. Right. You need to have stability in your knee. You need to have an adequate range in your hip mobility. Right. You need to have good thoracic mobility, core stability.
I love that word. I don't know what it means, but I've heard you say a few times, I'm like, fuck, that's a nice thoracic.
Thoracic. So thoracic is just the...
Can you spell it?
THORACIC. Yeah, it's a beautiful
I was thinking
word.
like THRASIC. With a T in there somewhere, maybe. Cool.
T is in there.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
Thoracic's, it's a beautiful word.
It is.
And like we use it a lot. So in our spine we have three like main vertebrae. We have our cervical region, which is like from the neck to, it's like C1 to C7. Yeah. Then we have our thoracic vertebra, which is like right from this bony part, like on your neck, just below it, down to, there's 12 vertebrae in the thoracic vertebra. This is your thoracic range in our spine. Below the thoracic range, now you have your lumbar spine. You'll probably hear that a lot. Oh, your lumbar vertebrae, your lumbar spine. Yeah. So these are the three parts. And then
so your cervical, your thoracic, and your lumbar.
And then I forgot one, which is your sacral, which is your sacrum.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So for people that...
so is lumbar above the sacral or below?
Above.
Above.
Yeah, it goes cervical, thoracic, lumbar, and then sacral. Like sacral chakra and that sort of thing.
Yeah, awesome.
So like there needs to be a qualification to perform the movement pattern well before we load the pattern. Yeah. And what happened with me in high school was I didn't get taught movement patterns, I just got taught exercises. Yes, 100%. So I just got taught back squat. Yeah. And I had no ankle range. Yeah. Which means, when you sit down, you want your knees to project forward over your feet in a certain amount so that you can sit down. Yeah. if you're like me, and when I was in high school, my ankles were really tight, really locked, which means my knee couldn't move much. It would just get stuck here.
Right.
And in order for me to sit down, I would have to push my bum back and hinge.
Yeah.
Right? So with 120, 150 kilos on my back, if I'm hinging to perform a squat with a load on my spine, I'm creating so much, they call it shear force, where there's this tension in the spine.
I like
There's
that.
this tension in the spine, right? And it's just like building this shear. And the spine is just being compressed and loaded. And every single day that I perform these back squats.
And you train often?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was training in the gym 5 days a week, training soccer days 2 days a week, and then training athletics 2 days a week with 1 to 2 soccer games on the weekend.
That's too many days in a week.
And every single day that I train in the gym, I would always have a sore lower back. And this theme of you're always going to have a sore lower back after you train squats is just a cultural pattern because we're all back squatting and we shouldn't be.
And we're all doing it wrong.
Yeah.
So we all think, oh, it's normal.
Yeah, it's just unsafe.
Yeah,
you know, it's just unsafe because we need to qualify the ranges of motion first. Do you have the range in your hips, the range in your ankle?
Yeah.
Because then what happened was I was doing so much high loading of back squats, 3 RM, 1 RM, 5 RM, and periodizing it, I'd go in phases of endurance, hypertrophy, and strength. And, we had a good coach who understood periodization, which was good.
Yeah.
He was an Olympic track athlete. So the problem there was after doing poor squats for so many years and loading my spine for so many years, at the end of it was I was doing these exercise testing at uni for a project between me and my partner, and we were doing deadlifts, and we were doing.
I like those.
Love deadlifts, right?
Yeah.
1 RM barbell deadlifts, and I didn't build the spinal stability, right? And I had so many years of loading my vertebra, so my vertebrae were just super inflamed. So I was halfway up.
I'm nervous.
And I was halfway up performing a deadlift. My spine went into flexion and I was weak in flexion. It wasn't poor that I was in flexion. We have Jefferson curl, which is, a good pattern to strengthen your spine in flexion.
Right.
But I was halfway up and then I had 3 pops in my lumbar vertebra. Pop, pop, pop. Instant pain. I was on the ground within 5 seconds. Couldn't move. Couldn't get up. Couldn't walk. And that day, I was in about a 7 out of 10 pain. And I was like in shock. I was dizzy. I couldn't see anything. Everyone in the gym stopped, came over, and I was like, whoa, what has happened?
When was this, sorry?
This was at the end of 2021.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So then I sat down on the chair and then just the pain started to increase in my spine. And I was like, oh, this is not good.
Yeah.
Because I know, I've researched spinal injuries and it's terrifying because the nerves that go below that can be influenced by the inflammation from the discs themselves.
Yeah.
So then, at the uni, there's a Griffith Uni Hospital there, which is great because
perfect.
I was able to walk there. It was
Yeah.
about a 200-meter walk. So me and my mate, he had me over his arm,
Good man.
and it took me about 15 minutes to walk this 200 meters.
I know the walk.
Because my steps were about 3 centimeters in length.
Oh my god.
Because if I moved any more than that, my spine would move in a way that was super uncomfortable, and I'd get jolts through my body. So I was in shitloads of pain, right? Anyway.
How have I never heard this story? How have you never said this before?
Yeah, I don't know.
Carry on.
So then that set this journey of understanding. Well, this is the thing as well, right? I could easily sit here and tell you that it was because of these deadlifts that I performed the deadlift poorly that I had this injury.
Yeah.
But we have this 1,000 rep rule where if you perform a movement poorly in the gym one time, chances are you may feel it, but there's not going to be much of a setback or a consequence of that.
Yeah.
It is after 1,000 reps of performing a movement in a dangerous and unsafe way where the body inflames so much that then it will spark.
Yeah.
So it actually sparked performing a deadlift because I had weak spinal support.
Yeah.
I didn't understand bracing. I created all this shear force in my spine. It was so inflamed for so long because I always had lower back pain my whole life.
Yeah.
Always. I was my lower back was like a freaking steel rod.
Yeah.
So then this set me on this journey of understanding, well, I was actually squatting poorly for these years and I lacked ankle range. My hip mobility was tight. I couldn't perform any straight leg raises at all. So then this set me on this journey of understanding mobility and then working at Bioactive to really support people to prevent this from happening. Because our biggest priority, people come to us and, I want to improve strength, I want to get fit, I want to lose weight, I got a wedding coming up, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Before all of those goals, our number one priority is safe movement.
Yeah.
Because if you get injured during, to make steps towards the goals that you have, and then that prolongs, it's like, well, no, you can't
there goes
move.
your goal. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So
seek to understand.
Yeah.
100%. Like, I've found this like new pattern of learning things, and it's a knowing, a practicing, and understanding. So if you know you have back pain, or if you know that your squat's not feeling right, well, then you need to practice something new that's gonna like support that. And then the more you practice it, the more you understand what it's doing to your body. And I think it's so important that as a PT at your gym, that you are focusing on, because I know you give so much information as well, like obviously you're doing that now, but even in your breath work, like you just give people the information, and then when people know things, then they're more inclined to do it that way. Like if you just say, oh no, you need to straighten your back, you need to get your knees over your toes, okay, well tell me why. You know, otherwise it's like, oh, Jarrod said this. Yeah. That's really amazing.
It's coaching is like, because what you're talking about is how you're coaching someone, because there's people that are not coachable, that don't want, they just want to come, go and get out, right? And there's some people like that. There's some people that come and they know that we're a place of prioritizing movement patterns and moving well, and going through motor control and proprioception and like single leg training and mobility and all these paths that are important to allow you to move well, to perform strength, to get stronger. But there's some people that, absolutely, they want to know the why. They want to know, okay, like why does it have to happen, and why is this going on here? And those people that have the awareness and that have the initiative to go, why is this happening in my body? What questions could I ask my coach to support that? They're the people that get the most benefit, because 100%. It's like seeking to learn and seeking to understand, right? So seeking to understand the connection of their body.
Do you have like a general time frame if people come and work with you for the mobility? What is like the set amount of weeks roughly you'd give someone? I know when someone comes and works with me and I feel like they're going to be there for quite a while, I say 10 weeks and then we take a break and then come back again. So what is it for you?
It depends.
Of course, but is there like a general range?
Is there a process? Yeah. So we have like three main phases that we take people in. So when people come to us, you could be an Olympic athlete, you could be an MMA athlete, you could be not an athlete, you could be a mum, you could be a dad, you could be a school kid, you could be
recovering as well from
right? You
could
surgery. Be in that point of rehab, so that's a different path. But let's think of like the general population. Maybe there's a few niggles in the body.
Let's say 27-year-old, I'm just going to put my case up. I'm going to say 24-year-old used to always do high intensity stuff, so has some like pain in the knees, shoulders click quite often. What like how long would you say I should come work with you?
Cool.
Also played netball my whole life. That's really fucked on the knees and ankles.
Yeah, the hard surface for contact. There's
stopping and starting.
There's stuff in that too. That's interesting. Firstly, I don't understand what your goals are. So that's like the first process of like, well, what do you want to achieve? Is it something you want to fix? Or is there something that you're striving towards? Are you looking for some sort of accountability towards daily movement practice? So I
just want to move healthily for my body.
Healthily. Beautiful. So from there, what we do is, well, we don't have a big discussion, of course, but our process in terms of the movement patterns and the training, the first process is called our mobility recovery regime. So this is all about restoring movement patterns to the body, understanding limitation and how it could be affecting patterns up the chain, down the chain, and in the functional movement patterns down the track. We restore movement. And often that doesn't look like a lot of strength, it doesn't look like a lot of loading, that starts to look like educating the body on how to move. We have many different ways of doing that.
Would that just be more like tension work?
Tension work, absolutely. Tension work, motor control work, using a pole to understand hip hinge.
Nice.
A lot of floor movement. Lot of floor movement. Good example is when I started performing hip lifts, which is you're lying on your back, feet flat to the floor, You drive your hips to the ceiling,
Yeah.
then you come back down.
Oh yeah, cool.
When I started doing those, my glutes didn't activate. It was all my lumbar spine.
Yeah, mine does that too.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I have bad lower spine, but yeah.
So like, because my body was so used, it didn't understand that my glute region, the glute muscle groups, they're going to support hip extension.
Yeah.
If my spine is supporting me in hip extension, it just means that my brain is saying my spine must extend my hips.
Yeah.
Instead of my glutes to tuck in and use that point of belly button to sternum to come closer together.
Yeah.
So retraining the motor control first.
And retraining your mind. So it would be like becoming aware of that part of your body that you typically should be using and notice where it is using and then just redirect it that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's different ways of doing that, you know, like if, for example, for someone that's never moved before and actually let's go with your case, right? So got a few things happening, knees, shoulders, 24, want to move better, want to start to retrain the body to, let's say alleviate pain and tension and move well, move comfortably so that you can then develop strength, develop power, develop all those parts, feeling strong and resilient and capable.
Yes.
Mobility recovery regime.
Yeah.
We can use isometrics as a tool to really stimulate the motor control and wake tissue up that doesn't activate.
What's isometrics?
Isometric is, so we have 3 bases of contracting our muscle and moving. We have concentric, which is when the muscle fibers shorten.
Right.
We have eccentric when the muscle fibers lengthen. And then we have isometric contractions where it's a hold and we're just stabilizing and holding.
Like isolating.
Yes.
Yeah.
So exactly.
Yeah.
So there's been many people I've met where some tissue just doesn't activate very well and it takes a lot of stimulation. So isometrics can be a really great tool that we sometimes use, not all the time, to stimulate the tissue that we need to.
Yeah.
Just to support the movement pattern.
Right.
The second phase is looking at, we do an evaluation, every 4 weeks. We're to be honest, we're constantly evaluating movement.
Yeah, of course.
Because the gym it's PT based within small group. Everyone's doing their own personal training program, and we're there to guide movement day to day, every single day. Excuse me. Then we do a performance evaluation where we perform movement pattern and evaluation. We use our EVOT wellness scan to understand the physiology, understand the habits, and understand the overall wellness of the person, so that they can then empower themselves to take actions towards their life. With things like nutrition, hydration, sleep patterns, bowel movements. Exercise, alcohol relationship, our relationship to junk food, and just understanding sleep patterns.
If you need to go for a cough, go do it.
Yeah, it's all good. That's happening.
And cut it out. That is a damn big water bottle.
4 liters.
I've noticed in Pilates when something's feeling off, I've been redirecting my mind to it. So like with the bridge hold, I noticed it was in my spine. I'm like, that's not right. I know it should be my glutes. So going there now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's this path of understanding your lumbar mobility as well. That was a big thing for me. I'll actually get to that in a second. Second phase is our evaluation and then our performance training program. And then third one is kind of like the third phase is a continuation of the second phase. It's performance training. Performance training's for everyone because we all perform. For elite performers, it's a different kind of performance. For us, we perform in our life.
Yeah.
We're all performers in our own way. No one just is a statue.
Yes.
Let's say, right?
Yeah.
So we all perform in our day-to-day in different ways.
Yeah.
And what we do is we tailor it. So like, for example, my good mate Chris, he's an MMA fighter. So his training, he has ideas on what he wants to work on specifically.
Yes.
So we tailor the training specifically to those peak moments of, for example, with him, it's specifically understanding rotational power. It's understanding nervous system regulation with when he goes into a fight. How is his mind composure during that heated moment?
Yeah, wow.
So it's very tailored in that aspect.
Yeah.
But some people, they just need to move because they have a desk job.
100%.
Or they're sitting down a lot.
Movement is like a crazy thing. Like I know some weeks if I don't make it to Pilates or I haven't gone for a run or done pole or done netball, it's like you just feel so like, I don't know, I can feel my muscles that just drop after a week if you don't do anything, and it's like, but it's easy to get them back. But it's just like movement is so important to your health.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're so right. Yeah, like it's key. And like, there's so many. I follow so many, you know, different neuroscientists and different coaches, and also understanding, using them as a source of, okay, like, how does that feel for what I can support people with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, when we have things like, there's so many resources that are suitable for people with bouts of anxiety, bouts of depression, bouts of panic, bouts of just feeling lost, bouts of no motivation, bouts of not knowing who you are, not figuring out who you are. One of the best things you can do is move. Because the movement stimulates so many processes in your body that are supportive.
Yeah.
You know, there's the release of endorphins that we all know.
Mm-hmm.
There's a stimulation of the brain chemistry that gets you into alignment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even for me, I've started just doing morning movement for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I just feel charged up.
Yeah, 100%.
Just like, ready to go. You
Yeah.
know? And bodyweight movement, there's so much you can do.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I like to do like a morning walk, or like the one where you stand and then you just touch your toes, like alternate toes, like, because that gets my back a good crack and my hips.
Yeah.
And then the arms. Sometimes I see people walking and they'll just do like the slow, like back and forth with their arms. And I'd like to do that just to, it's just a nice way to move your energy as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like, you're creating energy.
Yeah.
And just in that, you're creating in your reality this movement of energy.
Going from stagnant to moving is so like good for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the movement stimulates this path of alignment to yourself.
Yes.
Like, I noticed when I didn't train for a couple of weeks, I felt demotivated. I felt lazy. I had no initiative towards my goals and aspirations. I was lazier at work. I was less communicative. I was more chillaxing.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I started moving, I felt more in alignment. I returned to my what, more my own vision. I felt I had more initiative. I had more energy. And then I started to just find momentum towards the things that matter to me. And especially for a person, you know, even myself, like 2 years ago, super lost, didn't know what I wanted to do, didn't know who I was, lacked so much, like, I was nervous in social situations to a T, like feeling vulnerable. Just going out with mates.
Yes,
like,
no, I was very much the same.
You know?
Very much the same.
Oh, man. And, you know, understanding the breath work was a massive part of that. Like,
I wanted to touch on that next.
And the movement was key as well, because the movement of my energy to stimulate my muscles to contract, these processes just step into alignment, more blood flow out into the body, more increased blood flow, more development for your cardiovascular health. Like, the mind just loves movement. You know, we're born to move.
Yes.
You know, we have 2 arms and 2 legs to walk.
Yeah.
If we were meant to not walk, then we would be born as a statue, or we would be born as a tree.
Yeah.
Or we would be born as something a bit more still.
Yes.
We're born to move and
Yes.
to develop movement patterns.
Yeah. We are born to
Yeah.
progress and evolve.
Yeah.
I was literally thinking on the drive here, and I was thinking about language, and I just think it's so crazy, like, because we're so, you know, I say this humbly, like, we're so untapped from our fullest potential. Like, there's so much more within us that we don't know that we still can figure out and conduct together. And, like, language is just something so amazing that we have put together: sound, movement of the tongue, the lips, the mouth, the teeth, all of that, just to be able to communicate with one another. And not one language, but there's so many languages in the world that us humans have constructed together. And so I think it's just so crazy that that's one small aspect that we've figured out that just, like, you think just comes from here, but it requires a whole set of movements inside of us. And I just think that there's so much more that we can do. Like, yeah, there's the voice, but, you know, now the whole world is starting to realize what breath can do. So there's, like, breath, and then I just did a course of tapping, like, the natural things that you can simply do yourself: meditation, breath work, tapping, going for a walk, like, just stretching. Just all those basic things that we can do. There's definitely so much more that we don't know about ourselves yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was blowing. I was like being really blown away by that for a minute.
What was your takeaways from the tapping course that you did?
Right, yeah.
Because I know you said that, and I was like, I'd be really interested to know. Because I use some when I just feel called to, or like I use my eyes to go up and I can feel this, and I tap this, and sometimes here, that sort of thing. But,
so it's based off the acupressure points in your body, and by tapping on those certain points, it's actually tapping on your meridian lines, which are your energy lines through your body. And so when you tap, you sort of stimulate those lines to open up, and it also lowers cortisol, which is the stress hormone. And so while you're doing that, if you are like, let's say I'm working on something. So for me in practice, we had to talk about a minor annoyance. And a minor annoyance is Vinny leaves wet towels around. Like on the bed, on the floor, minor annoyance. And so we go through the tapping process, like wet floors on the ground, like makes me frustrated, la da da. And so as you tap and move through this experience that you're going through that has an emotional like connection and emotional stagnancy in you, by tapping, it's allowing the energetic lines to open up and allow the emotion to flow through.
Yeah.
So then hopefully when you can return to that experience, whether if it's thought or it keeps recurring in your life, you're less energetically frustrated by it.
Cool.
So yeah, the tapping helps open the energy lines for emotions to flow through.
So with tapping, not only are you lowering your cortisol,
yes,
you're just opening the flow of the emotion to more easily process through you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Because we go through so many adverse traumatic experiences that we can work on with a therapist. Like I know I saw a therapist for certain things in my life, but sometimes I still feel their stuck energy in my body. Here and there sometimes. So going through the tapping was actually a really interesting process for deeper things, but also those minor annoyances.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a whole process to it. But yeah, it was really exciting. Like just the untapped potential that we haven't like gone through yet, and realized, there's only been a couple, like maybe 20 to 50 years of research on it, but I've definitely felt a shift in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to try it.
Yeah.
Are you going to do any classes or stuff like that?
I'll start doing one-on-ones for it.
Yeah.
I'll start incorporating it into my practice. I'll start doing it, for people. Like some people you can do a good 60 to 90 minutes on a tapping session for those real deep things too. So yeah, I'm going to start this week. I'm just going to start making my stuff online and put it out.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm keen to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's come back to your breath work now.
Yeah, cool.
So I obviously just finished my 6 weeks with you, and the basics that I have taken away, things that I can just do daily, is the nose breathing. I definitely try to wake up and start my day with just deeper breaths, really getting it in all the way into my belly, because that was the thing I said that a problem that I had is I didn't feel my breath the whole way in. All my working out as well is through the nose. Like so when I do Pilates, straight away so conscious of, and because it's not high intensity, it's alright. Same with running. Took away that we need more oxygen in the blood. Or is it the other way around? Carbon dioxide in the blood.
Say that again, sorry.
Do we need more oxygen in our bodies?
We want to...
Or is it carbon
We
dioxide?
want to work on our CO2 tolerance.
Right,
is
yes.
Probably the theme that you're speaking about.
So do you need more carbon or need more oxygen? What was it?
Carbon.
Carbon, okay. Need more carbon in the body. Took that away. And that ball exercise.
Yeah.
I still need to get
the
one.
release on the lacrosse ball.
Yeah.
It's powerful. Like, to touch on that, when I was doing my 5 days in the Snowy Mountains with the Breathless Instructor training, we did a lot. And one of the things we did was...
You look like a caveman in some of the photos.
Yeah?
yeah. When your hair's
The hair was wild
out.
and it was shorter and I couldn't tie it up very well. So, they found the homeless guy on the street and then that was me, you know.
And now I'm breathing.
But, with Breathless, it was a beautiful experience because one of the things we did learn was, like that fascia release and that physical release. And the lacrosse ball is such a powerful tool, as you experienced, right?
Yeah, you buy one.
And like the double, you get the double. It's the ball and the bridge, and then the ball. Like they're two together.
People listening, it's like two handballs
Yes.
with a little bridge in between.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like we did, we placed it just below the traps, below the neck. You don't want to go too much on the neck; it can be quite intense.
Yeah.
So you go on the traps as we performed and use the breath. And then when you get between the shoulder blades, it's such a powerful movement to actually alternate the hands, because what you're doing is you're doing this to the scapula. One's going up, one's going down. And then you're rotating the scapula up and down, and then you're also protracting and retracting it.
Yeah, wow.
So you're taking your scapula and your shoulder, your joint there, scapulothoracic joint, so through a full range of motion, getting into the musculature that can keep you trapped, especially when we're breathing. And if we've been upper chest breathing and we've been having shortness of breath and we don't breathe deep into the belly, the tension that resides from our upper body is massive.
Yeah.
And so that can alleviate, I can open up now.
Yeah, 100%. I sometimes feel the differences, like when I take those deep breaths, I can I have more inclination just to stand up taller, and it feels so much nicer. Like just feeling more open and whole in a sense. I'm just like, I'm all of myself right now.
And it's important too because I'm all of myself, right? Jordan Peterson's rule number 1 is stand up straight with your shoulders back.
Yes.
Very powerful.
Yeah.
Because if I came up to you and I said, Lennie, it's nice to meet you.
Yeah.
How are you?
You're like all the way down here.
I'm all the way down. Imagine the type of confidence that I have. The serotonin's not being released.
Yeah.
He talked in length about crabs. I'm not going to get into the crabs because it's
it's a crab thing.
It's a crab thing. But there's so much that can be gained just from standing up straight with your shoulders back. Yes, it's physical, but feel how you feel when you open your chest to the world and you present yourself. This is me. This is who I am.
Start with your eyes closed if you feel uncomfortable. Just close your eyes and just like, what's up, world?
Yeah. And believe me, confidence changes.
Yeah.
I started doing it with my dad. He's like, dude, I feel a massive difference. I just feel, feel good.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I want to hear about your next 6-week program.
So.
Is it 6 weeks?
It's 8 weeks now.
8 weeks now, yeah.
So. What you just completed, 6 weeks, well done, by the way. That was, you were the Rugrat. That was our pilot program that we just released. And you were one of the people that were willing to experience that and be an experiment. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
And all your feedback's been really valued.
Awesome. I need you the one you sent on the email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where we're going now is we have taken a lot of the feedback from people, and now we're creating the official launch, which is going to be on March 23rd. The Thursday. I believe it's the 23rd on the Thursday.
Is it still Restore Your Natural Flow?
It's Restore Your Natural Flow.
Cool.
You know, one of the concepts that I learned from Breathless, that was a big part of that, you know, and recognizing, a lot of my learnings have come from Breathless because they have so many great tools that they want us to, as Breathless instructors, to share with the world.
Yeah.
And that formed, you know, that time, Restore Your Natural Flow, it's such a beautiful way to understand the full spectrum of breathwork, pain management, stress management, optimizing health, optimizing the functions in the body, which we'll get into. But 8-week program coming up. And I'm really excited because it's evolved a lot already, just in like the 2 weeks that it's finished. The week actually. Yeah. It's going to be 8 weeks. We're going to do functional breathing practices, which is about our chemistry, our physical breath, and our psychophysiology of the breath. We're going to look at breath for performance. So that's understanding, breath for how we perform, using it in context of running and exercising and training and recovery. We're going to have guest speakers such as yourself.
Yay!
Woo! Doing a meditation and specifically looking at inner child work as well. That was a big thing that was coming up for people. Yeah. Is this relationship with their inner child. Yeah.
Especially when you're doing the, I know it as holotropic, when you're doing that really deep breathing, like that's really waking that up in you.
We're tapping into like other layers of our brain that are just primal centers that are subconscious, that we're waking up, that we're just being presented with information and memories and emotions that we don't even know are there until we go into it. And it just gives us that opportunity to open ourselves up to that, that we can then process, that we can digest. There's going to be a beach excursion to the beach with breathwork, ice baths, and movement.
Nice.
We're going to have a few more group ice bath sessions than last time.
Nice.
We're going to have guest speaker Dr. Jess Harvey.
Okay.
Who's going to
Was she in the group that I was in? Yes.
Dr. Jess Harvey, she'll be doing pain management and stress management.
Okay, cool.
And she's an osteopath by trade and has been for like the last 15 plus years.
Amazing.
Like, she's incredible. Like, I have no words for her. She's incredible. How she's alleviated so many of our students' injuries and just different chronic injuries and chronic inflammation that has been coming through for them has been really powerful. Going to have Coach Will there doing a guest speaker on the wellness continuum, which is it's bringing the reality of the situation of wellness. Wellness is not get 8 hours of sleep, do this, do that, do this, do that. It's looking at the reality of the situation where we have kids, we have a life, we have school, we have work. Some of us are working 60 hours, some of us are working 40 hours. Yeah. The stress of life exists. Yeah. And so it's about harmonizing small incremental habit changes to work on day to day that are going to bring positive influences. And the mindset stuff's too really important that he he's just a blessing to have there on that.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do a breakthrough breathwork with cacao.
Nice.
We are also going to have an emotional resilience ebook available.
Cool.
Which looks at shadow work.
Yeah.
And it just gives people an introduction into shadow work and understanding what their shadow is.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a breathwork booklet. There's going to be online modules.
Mm-hmm.
So the education behind it will be online, self-paced.
Perfect.
There's also a built-in nutrition course.
Wow.
That people receive as well.
Is that with Rochelle?
No.
No.
This is a separate one.
Okay.
But Rochelle does have a 12-week Fatigue to Fabulous, which is,
Yeah,
it's quite
I
good.
did that, yeah.
And I think you would have seen me in week 11 doing the functional breathing. When you did it. Maybe you did it earlier.
No, we missed the last 2 weeks somehow.
Okay.
It was just at a weird time of life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
And you can't go back?
I'm not sure.
Okay, have a look, because I'm week 11.
Okay.
Doing the functional breathing stuff.
Yeah.
So from the evolution of this 6 weeks to this 8 weeks, I would say that it is drastically different.
100%. It sounds very different.
And it was pretty funny because I said to the breathwork class last night, I was like, guys, pretty much what I said to you, this is what we're happening. Like, if you're interested, let me know and we can have a chat to see how it could support you.
Mm-hmm.
Because the intention with coming into these things is really important.
100%.
Because there's also this blend of like, have an intention, but also being receptive to other things that
what else is coming.
can be present.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Vinny was a great example.
Yeah.
Because he was like, dude, okay, because he did the course, right?
Mm-hmm.
He said to me, Jarrod, to be honest with you, man, I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Vinny, that's beautiful, man. Because you came with such a fresh perspective.
Yeah.
That you were just completely open to whatever was resonating with you, you know.
100%.
So there's that blend of like, well, I want to work on these things and I know these things are present and I know I need to go deeper into that and that's resonating.
Yeah.
There's also parts that are going to be, that we're unaware to, that will just come up by the nature of doing these deep breath works.
As a recommendation, I think it would be really good to get the group together after 8 weeks in 2 weeks' time to see what they've decided to do in those 2 weeks and see if there's anything else that they need from you, whether they need like Dr. Jess Harvey or they need more breath work with you or they want more inner child stuff, just to be like, okay, well, this is where it is.
Yeah.
Vinny was really great, like going in, because I was like, I'm going to do this breathwork thing with Jarrod, do you want to do it? And he instantly said yes, and I wasn't expecting it, and I was like, perfect. And since the breathwork, he's had like things come up for him that we, you know, sit down and we talk through, and it's been, it's just been really eye-opening, like things that, you know are in your life, but now the body's allowing it to come up more. I think, because, you know, I firmly believe when you dive in, you're creating more safety in your body for it to open up to you. And I think, you know, he's created safety, he's gone deeper in himself more than ever, and now things are coming up.
Absolutely.
So, very powerful
I'm glad
stuff.
you said that because we do have an online integration coming next week.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Just sending that email out.
Nice.
Just to check in with everyone, like you're saying.
Yeah, I think it's so important, follow-up. Like, even when there's people doing evidential-based studies, there's always a follow-up. Like, a year after, a couple months after. Like, it's so important to check in on your people because, yes, you could have had massive change in the 6 weeks, but what about 5 months later? You know, what did that period of your life do for your trajectory?
Yeah, for the trajectory. What was the next step? What were the steps after that that led you to this point?
Yeah.
There's, you know, that breakthrough breathwork that we did. For many people, that was their first one.
Yeah. Gutted I missed it.
Yeah. So,
yeah. I'll come back.
And for many people, that was their first one.
Yeah.
And a lot of things came up for people. And there were many people in the room that were, they've just, you know, brought up their kids. They're sort of in their 45s, their 50s. You know, older parents that have had things that have happened in their life that they've just, you know, trudged on through and just gotten through and just needed to get it done. And, you know, just had the, you know, maybe times were tough, you know, I just need to get through this. And it allowed them to just open up space for themselves for those things that have happened in their life, especially a lot of child work.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Oh, dude,
So,
everyone has it. That's the thing. Like, everybody has inner child work, or whether you want to call it inner child or just trauma, your earlier experiences in life, whatever you want to call it, everyone has it. So there's a way, like, that breath work it's not guaranteed to take you there, but it's definitely guaranteed to allow the space for that to come up.
This is the thing, right? I'm glad you said that because it's not like you get on a train and you wait.
Yeah.
And you just get there, right?
Yeah.
It's like restriction comes up, especially when you're performing that, it's very similar, it's not the same, but holotropic, superventilation, it's called breakthrough breathwork, it's called transformational breathwork, all these different names, they're very similar in their nature. Transformational breathwork has more to do with the guidance from the facilitator. Holotropic is just like all about that DMT release.
I've heard shamanic breathwork.
Shamanic breathwork is, there's all these different words, these terms, and when you start laying them out, you have this spectrum of breathwork.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's this big.
Mm-hmm.
And, breakthrough breathwork is something I've learned from Breathless. That's been such a useful tool. And Johannes, he just sent me a piece on integration the other day, which I shared with the group. And he said the most beautiful thing. He said that something to the effect of, we're not meant to break down in society. We're meant to be fine. And if there's a problem, it's fine. And it's okay. Yeah. And I'm not meant to have this breakdown. And I'm okay. And I'm, and I can get through this. And you can just feel that restriction in me, right? And
they're only breathing to here.
Yeah.
They're not breathing
They're breathing into this.
Yeah.
And it's okay because, like, we feel like we have to be fine.
Yeah.
And it's expected for us to never be not okay.
Yeah.
And he described it perfectly. He said, breakthrough breathwork is your time to break down. Mm-hmm. Break down to break through.
Yeah.
And breakthrough breathwork is a point where we allow ourselves to break down, the space to break down, to allow these things, this density of energy, this tension, this heat, this stress, this frustration, these patterns, these programs that are holding us down, keeping us trapped, feeling lost, feeling unsafe, feeling ashamed, feeling guilty, to just open up to that possibility that it's okay to feel those things.
Yeah.
For example, many breakthrough breathworks I've had, I didn't have any strong emotions come through. I was just filled with gratitude and love.
That's nice.
Other times, it awakened me to what actually my pain and trauma was when I was a kid, because I didn't know what it was up until the end of last year.
Yeah. You become a hot mess.
Yeah.
I remember when I did holotropic the first time.
Mess, yeah.
Like 5-10 minutes, tears. And I was like, what's... Like, because you have the intention. You have the understanding that this could be very powerful. This could be very emotional. And so when you're open to that idea and you step into the practice and you start the breathing, it's like, oh, this is what I'm opening up to. And so when that's already your intention, it's like almost sitting. It's just sitting under the surface. And as soon as you dive in, it's like waiting for you.
Yeah. And sometimes we know what those things are that are waiting.
Yeah.
It's like...
You just haven't given it time.
No, that's it.
It's like, not you! No!
Yeah. And then, and that's the beautiful thing, because all those, I call it the black box at the top shelf at the back of your mental shed.
Yeah.
It's over here, I can't see it.
Yeah.
And if I look at it, I don't want to look at it. I don't want to look at it, I don't want to look at it.
And you can't see it because it's dark and it's in the back.
It's dark and it's in the back.
Yeah.
And what Breakthrough Breathwork does, it just gives you the opportunity to just look at this box. And don't see things as good or bad, but just as emotion as energy. And memories as just part of us, that we've had things that have happened to us that have been here for our growth.
Yeah.
And believe me, when I was sitting in the Breathless first day, we had to tell our story. Everyone told their story and they just opened up.
Nice.
And my opening up was, I've had a pretty good life, been in private school, I don't really have much trauma or pain.
I would have looked at you and be like, this guy,
and I just was like, I'm just so keen to get to know everyone and do breathwork alone with everyone. Yeah. That's it. And the stories that were going around the room. When I was 16 and got kicked out, I had no one to go to. I didn't have any friends or family. I was on the street.
Yeah.
When I was young, my dad, had sexual abuse with me, like those really like rough things, and that made me go, and my comparison went into, my pain surely is insignificant to
see, but you're you, and like this is your experience, and your story has a different level of trauma, and you're unique. Like I don't like the comparison game when people do that. I'm fine because Janet's in hospital dying. Yeah. Like it doesn't, not that Janet doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter that comparison. Yeah, exactly right, because that was the realization. And the breakthrough breathwork made me recognize that, and it just made me recognize actually my pain is completely valid, and I've just been ignoring it, and my ego's just been protecting me from the pain that I did feel. And the comparison is just a way where I was comparing, like I was exactly like that, or I have it good because they have it bad, or they had it worse, so I must have it good. This comparison isn't needed because it doesn't change the fact of what's happened to you, that you need to process that, and that's just part of your journey. It is 100% yours, and
like I said, the breakthrough breathwork supported me understanding that. And made me recognize the pain of being bullied when I was in grade 4.
Yeah.
I didn't realize the weight that carried, and as we grew up, the gentleman where I was bullied by, we ended up being mates in the end and hashing things out, and he was just so apologetic when he was older because he realized like the effect that it had on him.
He's probably going through something. That's why he's the bully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But
right?
kids don't know that.
We don't know.
Yeah.
We're just like these, just pure emotion.
Yeah.
We're pure emotion.
And we internalize it because everyone's fine.
Yeah.
Everyone seems fine.
Yeah, and you can't not be fine.
Yeah.
You can't cry.
I was driving here and there was a guy that pulled up behind me. And he was like sitting behind me. Older guy, maybe like 40s, skinnier, probably a smoker. Definitely a smoker. And he's just behind me, he's going... like full like breathing, like trying to like cool it down in the car. And then he's like got the window down and he's like looking around, not on drugs. Like this is an emotional thing. And I was like, okay. And then we like came, because we were in a 1-lane thing, and then we pulled up to lights together. And he actually sat behind my car, didn't even come up next to it. And then he slowly rolled up just enough where I just popped out. I was like, are you okay? And he's just like, yeah, no, not really, but I'm fine. And then I was just like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay. And then we pulled up to the next lights together. And I can't remember what he said. He's like, thanks for asking. And I was like, that's all right. Like, is everything okay? And he just said, oh, I just smoke and it's just not good. And then I just straight up said, I was like, look, I'm a therapist. I could just tell you're not okay. And he was just like, no, I'm not. And it wasn't even in a way to like get a client. It was just like is this guy fucking okay? But I bet he's not. But I bet he was trying to calm himself down on his way to work because he needs to be fine, because he needs to go to work and he needs to show up. And you can't do anything different, because if you don't, people will know you're not fine, and God forbid someone knows I'm not fine.
Yeah.
And I was just like, just asking him if he was okay probably might have just helped him cool down a bit more. Because like, people do care.
Yeah.
But we just think that people don't care, or we think that we can't be fine. We can't not be fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, it blew me away.
Yeah. 100%. So, it's just like a powerful space to facilitate that, because there's so many ways to process those things that we're going through. Like I said, with this guy, like, there's therapy, which is really resourceful, looking at the content, looking at the language, looking at the emotions, speaking through that, expressing that, doing all the other, it's not just talking, there's so many other layers to therapy, right? That you do, that I know you do.
100%.
And that it can be really effective. And then there's also ways where, once we process something in the mind, let's say like, I'm happy to talk about this issue that happened, and, process that. The mind can process what the body remembers. Yeah. So the body can still be holding on to this.
Yes.
Like...
I was going to say this before, yeah.
So we need this, they call it like somatic release.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be a somatic release.
Yes.
But time to step into the body, to step into the subconscious layer of the body, to step into our amygdala, to step into the primal centers of the body through the breath, to allow this nervous system to regulate. Yes. To allow ourselves this space. And it's like, one thing, there's this other really cool thing where it's, imagine you are a Coke bottle and you keep the lid on, and that there's so much pressure building up. And just because you're keeping the lid on, the pressure's building up just by the nature of it. Yeah. And what we do with breathwork, we take the cap off and the pressure blows. So we blow the roof off. Now that bottle has space for new air to come through. But before it didn't, because it was locked, it was jammed. So those breathwork techniques, those breakthrough breathwork techniques, allow you to blow off the roof, kind of like blowing off steam in a productive way for your body to process that. Yeah. It is crazy. Yesterday, I had a student. I did like the smallest breath work with her, because we're doing one-on-one training. Yeah. And we just needed to do some breath work. So I just did like a few minutes of some ventilation, some super ventilation. And then we went into some extended exhales. So she's someone with chronic pain. She's got sciatic pain that's been chronic for like 3 years. Throughout the super ventilations, we were activating her sympathetic nervous system, which means that stress response, that activation response, that alertness. Her pain was increasing. right? And I knew that we weren't going to be here for long because I don't want to be here for long with her to perform that. As soon as we finished that, we went into the parasympathetic breathing, the extended exhales, the slow breathing, restorative breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, using oxygen vantages, techniques of light, slow and deep, slowing it down. She said to me at the end, Jarrod, the pain that I feel now is less than the pain that I had before we started. And she was really like, what's going on here? I said, great. That means that it worked. Because what we do with the breath, we take ourselves into the sympathetic nervous system. We need to go into that massive stress response. We need to activate that in the body in order to activate that in our system. So it's there, it's ready. And then we come into that parasympathetic to allow that to release. And you'll know like very well from the Breathwork program, we need to raise the floor.
Yeah.
We need to build our CO2 tolerance, which is the functional breathing side. But we have a ceiling, we have a roof that we need to blow off. We blow that roof off, we come up and then we come back. We have to come up to come back.
Yes.
And if we only come up a little bit, we don't really release that stress.
Yeah.
And within each breath we can do that, and within a breathwork session we can do that. The best thing I do in the car, like if you're someone that you don't have time, you got kids, there's work that's full on and you don't have time, like to do 2 hours of breathwork in a week or an hour of breathwork, this is something you can do in the car. Sit up straight. You do a double inhale. Now this just came out of Stanford University from the Huberman Labs. You do a double inhale with an extended exhale. You can do this driving. Only do 5 breaths while you're driving, no more. And do this just when you have any bit of space, when you're in the toilet, anywhere. A double inhale, long exhale. And a double inhale, long exhale. I'm going to do one more. Double inhale. Extended exhale. Relax.
I like extended exhales.
Yeah.
That's probably the breath I always go to. It just calms me down.
It does, hey?
Yeah.
And so this is that path of like, we need to activate to release. We need to activate to release.
I sort of felt like just like a small, like, I don't know, in my head right now, I'm sort of like feeling into my mind, and I felt like a small, like, woo.
Yeah.
Like I've come, obviously now I'm just chilling, but just now I feel like,
It's calming.
It is.
And you can do that in 30 seconds. We need those strategies.
Yeah,
Day
we
to day,
do.
in those moments of just like...
Exactly. The same with the tapping. Like, something we learned was squeezing the side of your fingertips. Lowers cortisol.
Really?
Lowers stress. So
Get out of town.
Just give yourself a few little squeezes on your fingers. Like, if you're in a meeting, if you're... maybe not you could while you're driving if you really want to, but like if you're not having this interview or this podcast and just like trying to drive. And like let's say I'm feeling nervous about recording, then I'll just do a few little... If you have to have that hard conversation with someone, just do a little...
There's something in that, because when I'm nervous, when I see people nervous...
Yeah, something on the
with
fingertips.
nails.
People always like tapping and doing this.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, we've come to an hour now, but I want you to say when your breathwork program starts, what you're looking forward to the most, how many people you get in, how much it is, and 3 things you're grateful about today.
Holy shit.
All of them. So, breathwork. When is it?
Cool. So the next 8-week breathwork program is starting on March 23rd. We're capping it at 12 people. Max 12 people.
Nice.
I'm looking forward to it because this is something where we're giving everyone space. We're giving people space to come in, to be themselves, to come in and as they are, to learn more about their physiology, to learn to regulate their emotions, to learn to harness and optimize the stress that they feel in life, and to allow them space to tap into, if they want to, those emotions, those memories that have been hard to process within themselves, a welcome and loving space for them to come in and just experience more connection to themselves, to find that peace, to alleviate the stress of life.
Beautiful.
The program itself will be 8 weeks. The program itself is going to be $3.99 for the 8 weeks. And 3 things I'm grateful for today. Was that the last one?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. So glad to talk to you firstly, because I've been looking forward to this for such a long time.
Yeah, we'll definitely do another one.
God, yeah.
Yeah.
We should book it in today.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll
please.
pencil it in.
Let's pencil it
After
in.
our week.
Because this is a building block. I feel like we're building here.
100%.
Because, like...
There's many more things I wanted to chat about.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only got to ask you 3 questions.
Yeah.
What's going on?
We need a whole day.
We need a whole day.
Yeah.
Yeah. idea.
We'll pencil this in.
We film like a 4-hour session.
Yeah.
Where we
change outfits every hour.
Change outfit change.
Scene change.
Cut.
Yep.
And we finish it there.
Yep.
And then we continue because now I'm feeling like there's more momentum to go here. Because we got here and then we got here and then we're here.
Yeah.
And then I feel like if we get talking for another 2 hours, we would get here.
Yeah.
So what we could do
is
when
you get into the...
Yeah. So we film 3 hours, we bring different outfits.
Yes,
for sure.
Of course.
We do an hour, and then the next one we end it, end it, and then we start it.
Yeah.
Have that start, and you got to cut this bit now. Fuck, sorry.
No, that's alright, I mind.
Then we do like a start in new clothing.
Yeah.
Maybe we change the table a little bit. Then we just like have like this continuation.
Yeah.
And then when it uploads, it's like this flow.
Yeah, nice.
Could be cool.
That would be good. So, grateful for the chat.
Grateful for the chat. Super grateful to share and just share about what's been happening in my life and my story and just about the Breathwork Program because seeing how it's supported you from what you said has been really important and seeing how it's been supporting others in other ways as well has just been the biggest blessing because that's why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it because, like what doesn't work, we change. What does work, we continue. Like there's this blend of really emphasizing the importance of connecting to yourself in the full capacity, the dark and the light, the yin and the yang, the push and the pull, the
inner child high self.
Like there's this complexity of ourself that we can really connect to.
Yeah.
And so I'm just so grateful to have shared that here with you.
Yay.
And thirdly, I'm grateful that we are going to be working together more.
Yeah, me too.
One-on-one space, in the Breathwork Program space. I'm so excited to have you on.
Yeah.
Because I've done one-on-ones with you, and they have just been so potent. Like, I've come away from a session with you with so much value and so much... There's so much juice and value in your sessions that you don't have to say heaps.
Yeah.
But you can help direct me on my own path for me to empower myself to find the direction I need to go down.
Yeah.
You don't have to give me all the answers. You can just provide me the space. And I remember doing that with you at the midway through early last year.
And it's come a far way since then.
Oh my God.
I think back to it, I'm like, oh yeah, that was good. But now I'm like, oh, I like it. Yeah.
That was the starting point of like this, because that was when I just started at Bioactive. That was when I just started doing breathwork. There was all these starting points, and you helped me just get on the right path to schedule my time, schedule my mindset to just like give myself this peace of mind that I'm doing my best and that and how to just make that simple action come to fruition in my day-to-day week.
Yay. Planning
time for me, my work, for my relationship, for everything. You laid it out so perfectly, and you were adaptable because just by talking to you, you have a beautiful feminine energy. But I remember on that day, you just fucking stepped into your masculine. You were just like, go. And it was like, it was what I needed, and it was epic.
Yeah.
And you have this adaptability to tune into what the person needs, to then support them in the way that you feel they need to hear. And more often than not, it always is.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for that.
Thanks. Oh, that's so exciting. Yeah, I reckon we'll definitely have a lot of fun this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. Well, 3 things I'm grateful for today. I'm grateful for, being able to do this with you. And it's been really nice, like, witness your knowledge, like, really come out. Like, you always drop random facts here in conversation and we never have time to sit down and be like, wait, what's this? Like, I now know that the order of spine thing down my body. What is it? It goes the cervical.
Yes.
The
your favorite
thoracic.
Beautiful.
The lumbar and the sacral.
Music to my ears.
Yep. So it's been nice to sit and bathe in your knowledge in your space as well. So thank you.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome here anytime.
Yeah, you were first guest on the podcast.
Oh yes,
So
I made it.
Yes,
I've made it.
Number 1. And another thing I'm grateful for today, the sun is out and it's a gorgeous day and we're starting to come into autumn. It's autumn today, actually.
Oh my God, first day of March.
This is, we're coming into Aries shortly and that's the start of the energetic year.
Yeah.
So, get your affairs in order.
Get my affairs in order.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing.
Well, thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Yay.
Thank you. Big hug. Oh, you're the best, dude.
Woohoo.
Woohoo.
We'll be back.
Yeah.